Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wrestling fans. I'm John Hoppy. You're listening to the Wrestling Fans Insight Sunday Takedown. I'm joined by my brother William. How you doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
I am peachy.
Mm.
That's the first time I've heard you use the word fantastic.
No, it ain't.
Well, yeah, it is.
No, it isn't. I switch between fantastic and fabulous.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you usually like to use awful tired.
Nope, not tired. I've been awake since about 3 a.m.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I pulled some muscles in my leg.
All right. How'd you do that?
Probably in my sleep, which is what woke me up.
Oh,
Otherwise, I would not be up at 3 a.m.
all right. All right. We also have Carlos in the house. How you doing, my friend?
Tired. I'll take up for William. I'm tired.
Bingo. Got it. Thank you.
Fucking John.
Whoa.
No, I'm obviously tired. I stayed up watching SummerSlam when I got off work and watching the press conference. I'm just in one of the, I'm just tired. Like, and then I started to watch Collision. I'm like, it's one of those weekends. I don't know. Our other co-host who's not here, Stampede, does it with everything else that he watches too. Like, kudos to him. It's like I'm like I gotta fit this in somewhere. And he's all doing New Japan and everything else too. So it's crazy. It's fun. It's fun time to be a wrestling fan for sure. Every weekend seems to be something.
We also have Brian the Hype Ballard with us. Brian, how are you, my friend?
Doing good. We're I'm excited that SummerSlam got me back into it. It was kind of like, oh, do I want to watch this show? And then as I started watching it, interacting online in our chat, and just kind of got me right back into the spirit of it. So, but it was a late night.
Yes, it was. Last night it was pretty much a little bit of fun, little few things here and there that we could really discuss in great lengths, but we'll try not to bore everyone too much today with it. But last night was the big night for WWE for their summer. It was their SummerSlam PLE event, and we had 7 different matches. I thought it started off very strong with the whole Rhea and Liv and the Dirty Dom love triangle going on there. But we had that. We had LA Knight get crowned U.S. champ. I'm sure the majority of the IWC was very much cheering for that one. We also have, new world heavyweight champion Gunther. Cody Rhodes manages to retain. Braun Breaker, the newcomer, comes in, pretty much destroys Sammy. But we also had our little favorite feud between Seth Rollins not Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins is involved now, between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. For me, I thought the card was pretty solid. I wouldn't say it was their greatest SummerSlam that many perceived it as, but I felt it was a good enough card. William, what was your feeling on last night's event?
So I originally wasn't planning on watching this because there just wasn't a whole lot of hype leading up to this. We had the rapid succession PLEs back to back. I think that always kind of takes away from it, but I woke up this morning and decided to watch it. And I was expecting a 3-star match. And what we got, I would put it at a 7-star.
Oh, interesting.
Which match?
What do you mean, which match?
Are you saying the show altogether, or I thought you said match or show?
No, overall.
Oh, okay, nice.
And since Carlos is speaking up already, let's go ahead and get Carlos' overall thoughts for the show.
I mean, we'll get into it hopefully. There was I feel like there were some misses. There were some things booking wise that I'm like doesn't make sense to me. But overall, I thought the women killed it. I thought the women's matches were really good. I was the CM Punk and the Drew thing is like, to me, I'm intrigued by it because I mean I could see every one of those guys turning different, going babyface heel. Like there's a lot of mystery there still to be done. CM Punk doing business was good, but yeah, we'll get into it. The main event to me was lackluster. Besides the Roman Reigns, I mean, it was just I didn't enjoy the main event at all. I just thought the pacing was off. But yeah, I thought overall it exceeded my expectations. So I agree with William there. I was pleasantly surprised because I thought overall there wasn't a lot of build to this because there was a lot of matches that were already done. The matches that they could have helped build they didn't do any pre-show matches. But I was pleasantly surprised by how it played off on TV. I was entertained. I was sports entertained.
All right, Brian, you're up to bat.
Yeah. So just as a high level overview, I feel the WWE did a few things last night. They made and solidified the importance of the King and the Queen of the Ring tournament. And that's huge because now, they say, wow, you could win this tournament and win the big one at the main events of SummerSlam, so to speak. So I feel like they did that and they did the right things. They're trying to make that connect with each other, kind of like Royal Rumble WrestleMania does. The other thing they did is they plugged into the storylines, and I can tell where all these storylines are now going to be moving forward for the next couple months. So I think they did a good job of telling those stories to push ahead. And we're not going to go into September, October wondering, well, what's the plan and what's going on here? And I can see a lot of this. Some of these were payoffs and some of these were actual just pushing the can and the story down the road a little bit. But overall, I'm kind of with you guys. I think there were some misses, but I think overall, I do think it was no different than some of the pay-per-views or PLEs they've been doing lately. And I think it was a little bit above in the notch up. And also, I think the city of Cleveland did a really good job hosting SummerSlam this year and, having enough media for it and all that stuff.
Sorry. Carlos already left the room. He was that disgusted with you, Brian. No. Carlos, you will probably be bouncing back here very shortly. I know every once in a while he has a connection issue here and there, but overall, I thought it was a better card than I think a lot of the IWC has been kind of criticizing it for.
See, and everybody I talked to outside of our group basically felt the same way about it. Like there just wasn't any build and there wasn't going to be anything special about it.
Well, again, this will probably come into play when Carlos talks about some of the booking for it. I thought a lot of the build was done somewhat okay for some stories. I thought the Drew and CM Punk feud, that kind of went into play with certain aspects, but there was a tweet out there that kind of made me laugh. Like, these guys usually are fighting for titles, but yet we're watching them fight over a dollar store bracelet.
That was funny.
And that did kind of make me laugh a little bit because I'm like, yeah, I kind of understand that point. But again, overall, I thought it was a better card than I think a lot of the critics give it. But why don't we go ahead and get into, I think, Phil, how we kind of see some of these cards. Let's start off with what match probably was the most underwhelming, meaning probably could have been better than what it was. Why don't we start with you, William, on that?
For me, the thumper of the night, and I'm just saying thumper because it's the one that came in last for me, was obviously, Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn for a couple of reasons. One, that match didn't have anywhere near the amount of content that the first one did. Two, it was a short match.
Well, and in some ways, I understand why it was booked as a short match. They're trying to book Braun as being one of the new up-and-comers and being very dominant. Hopefully they don't do it to a Goldberg-esque type dominance, But, one of the things I have to go back in history of SummerSlams is ever since if this event first started, the Intercontinental Championship, including last night's event, has changed hands 16 times. That's quite a bit right there. And really, if anybody goes back watching the history of all the SummerSlams, and you guys, I kind of want to get your takes on this. I kind of feel like the Intercontinental Championship has kind of been the more of the big focal point, kind of been the bigger match out of any of the championship matches in SummerSlam history. I mean, you go back to watching the matches like Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, Honky Tonk Man, Ultimate Warrior, probably not the best example. Ultimate Warrior, Rick Rude,
British Bulldog, Bret Hart.
British Bulldog. I mean, to me, I kind of felt like SummerSlam's been more of the shine for the Intercontinental Championship than anything. What would you say to that, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's a good point. And, you know, it was one of the only pay-per-views, to my knowledge, where they did main event feature the Intercontinental Championship, right? And that was the Bret Hart British Bulldog 1992 in Wembley. So ultimately, I do think you're on point with that. I agree with you guys as well on the Braun Breaker match. I feel like this match did not need to have a title change at SummerSlam. I felt like that opportunity should have happened at their previous encounter at Money in the Bank. And this almost is the WWE way of telling us that they don't want to do major title changes on side pay-per-views, if you will. And they want to have a WrestleMania effect to it and have a big stage. But the match had no stipulation. It was really no different than the other. And this was not my match of the night either. This was, to me, one of the worst ones. And I get what they're doing with Braun Breaker and want him to be a powerhouse. And I don't mind the short matches, but I didn't feel the intensity. Like honestly, it felt like a 12-minute match to me. But then when I seen the time, I was like, oh, wow, that was quick. But I didn't feel like it went fast for me.
And to go back on that, maybe it was a short match because they had a feeling the crowd really wasn't quite into it like they have been with most of the other matches. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, I would agree 100% on that. And they could have pulled it and, cut it off a little short. The opening match came out strong. This match was it felt like it killed the energy a little bit. And I don't think it was against any of the performers in it. I just believe that maybe those two, just their style doesn't gel as well.
And that could be, and I was going to try to save a lot of the sound bites for toward the end, but
just do it.
Maybe we should play this one just because,
hold on. What did I miss really quick? Are you guys all, because having technical difficulties, were you guys all just dogging on Braun and Sammy?
Yes.
So here's the one thing. So here's my take, and again, if you guys already said this, is to me it's WWE's fault because they booked it backwards. Like you had Sammy, you had Sammy have a really strong showing, and the match was a lot longer and really good at the Money in the Bank. But then all of a sudden now Sammy is just, now you had a short match, and like, what was the difference? Because from a booking standpoint, because now Braun took Sammy more seriously. The booking of it was backwards. It's their fault with how they booked both matches, in my opinion. If that makes sense.
It does. But we were kind of actually trying to talk about the shine of the IC Championship matches usually being the highlight of most SummerSlams.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. That's okay. But I do want to give kudos to Braun, though, for trying to give Sammy his flowers. I'm going to play a soundbite here that, like I said, I was planning on doing all the sound bites toward the end of the show, but let's play this one just since we're on topic.
Well, you're here now. You are a champion. What can we expect from Braun Breaker as Intercontinental Champ? What kind of champ are you going to be? Intense?
I'm going to carry this championship with the most prestige and honor that I can, hold it to the highest standard and the highest level that we can do it on Monday Night Raw. And, I'm hoping to elevate this championship along with myself along the way. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't wait to get to work, challenge myself and put myself up against the best and defend this championship. This prestigious title that's had so much history and so many great champions. And, I think we all should, pay our respects and big shout out to Sami Zayn here today. Sami Zayn. I've said it before. I've said it during this period of time that I've had with Sami that, Sammy has been on top for quite some time. He's main evented WrestleMania. He's had the Intercontinental Championship multiple times, World Tag Team Champion. He's had a Hall of Fame career. There's no doubt he's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day, right? He gave me an opportunity at the Intercontinental Championship when I was, a new kid. You know what I mean? No one really know like what I was capable of or what I was going to do up here or any of that. So, he gave me an opportunity. He gave me a chance at the Intercontinental Championship, and I think we all have to really respect that and yeah, absolutely.
Well said by you, Ron. Very, very well said. Congratulations again on becoming the Intercontinental Champion. I remember when you showed up on Raw, you were demanding opportunity from Adam Pearce, and you have certainly made the most of it. So congratulations, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much.
Great job. Great job.
So, with that being said, one thing that kind of drove me nuts is demanding. I kind of feel it was a bit early putting this championship on Braun already. But again, to Carlos's point, it was kind of booked bass backwards.
Well, and that's what I was saying with how the first match was such a banger and then poof. But at this point, what I'm looking forward to is what direction Sammy's going to be going.
Right. Well, and also what direction Braun's going to go, because he definitely needs to work on his mic skills, definitely his promo skills, based off that little short clip we just played.
It was one stutter. Come on.
It's not the stutter that bugs me. I just don't feel like he's very well prepped for these types of events.
And he's coming across like, I was like, God, when did he turn into Captain America? I would have, complimented Sammy, and I said it, and I just beat him, but that's more of a heel in me. But he definitely wants to play the good guy. But I would have been like, oh, he's a great competitor and he's so awesome, and I beat him. What's that say? And
but that's the problem with that's the problem with their pressers as in general. It's like, are they kayfabe? Are they trying to be in character? Are they not in character? I think that was just him not being in character, and that's why it doesn't play good, because it's like they shouldn't. Like this is hard with the WWE ones because it's like there's so much in kayfabe, and he was trying not to be, but it doesn't play to his character when most people are. So I think that was just him not being properly. It just doesn't play. These play weird altogether sometimes when it comes to WWE press conferences, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so the thing I kind of want to ask you guys too is, Braun Breaker has the legacy to be a good Intercontinental Champion, but he's going to have to find that dance partner to have that great feud with, a best of 7 series or something like that. Who is on that Monday Night Raw roster right now that would be a good dance partner for him?
Crickets.
To me, like, it's it all plays harder into what you guys were saying before. Like, to kind of summarize everybody's points, they kind of rushed this quickly. Like they booked it backwards because, like I said, so what was, and that's the thing where not having someone who, and again, I blame it on them too. Like the question they should ask Braun is, what was the difference between this match and the second one? And it just doesn't, because again, he talked about it, I think on Monday Night Raw, where it's like, well, I didn't take Sammy seriously enough, but who was maybe his dad should have come with him down to the ring. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he needed to have someone showing him like what was. It just doesn't. The way they booked this was backwards. Like they wanted to get Sammy on the card in front of his hometown. They should have just put him in the Money in the Bank match. They should have saved their first match for tonight, and it should have been a banger where he went over on Sammy. The way they booked this was incorrect. The whole way they handled this was incorrect, and now they got to fix it. I put it on Triple H in the booking department because they got to fix it and make it right to where. Now Sammy needs to be elevated, like Will's saying, like we want to see what Sammy's going to do. They need to make, because now are they going to try to rush Braun as a babyface now, where he should just be a heel? You had him take out Ricochet, someone who's beloved. Like where was the follow up with Samantha Irvin? Like there's so many things that they're just doing because they're trying to like get their way, like have their cake and eat it too. And they need to just slow it down a little bit. So it's their mess to fix is how I'm looking at it. The way I would book it, it depends. If he's going to be a baby face, have Dominic going after him, and maybe Liv's helping Dominic try to win the title. If he's going to be a heel, then they are, then I would have him going after Ilya and Sheamus. Those guys all seem like perfect people for him to be facing. But it's just like where's the direction of the character? Or I would also say Dragon Lee too, but they haven't heated anybody up for him to face because it's all been about Drew and them, and it's all been about getting over Judgment Day. They just haven't dedicated the time to this, and it should be more dedicated to it.
Yeah, and the one thing I don't want to see is I don't want to see more Sami Zayn matches with him. So
no.
I want him to move on, and I'm just like, you did mention, I think Dom would carry a lot of the promo work with him, so that actually would probably be a nice pairing to do. Ilya came to my mind originally because I was like, well, they've worked with each other, they're a little more comfortable with each other, and maybe we give Braun a kind of a comfort zone for a little bit.
But at the same time, Ilya needs to be winning. He's new on the roster. Like he needs to be getting wins, not taking losses, in my opinion.
Yeah.
To me, Sheamus would make sense. Also, if he's going to be a heel, and then also maybe Rey Mysterio. Like that would be another one. But they got to build it up. I mean, they dedicated so much time to Liv and Damian and these guys and the breakup, and that's something else hopefully get into. But it's like and so much time to CM Punk and Seth. They got to. It's up to them. They got to sell us on this and elevate the right people to have them face it. Just have them do open challenges. I mean, I don't know. But again, is he going to be a face or a heel? Because that promo right now is very baby face, like you guys were saying, and that's where they got to decide. I would just let him be a heel and keep going. Because that's how. And again, he did demand. He demanded. It wasn't Sami. If you're paying attention to the storyline, it wasn't Sami being generous on TV. It was him. Like being an asshole and demanding the things from Adam Pearce, like Jackie said. So, just the promo did that. That was a nice moment for him, but it wasn't in kayfabe. And again, like most of their promos, most of their press conferences are in kayfabe. So it just didn't play well, and it just leaves you wondering what direction are they going with this character.
Yeah, I'm with Carlos about Sheamus being probably a pretty likely opponent.
Oh, I thought you said Ilya.
That too.
No,
I said Sheamus. I said Sheamus though too. I said I would put Sheamus in there with them. That would be the person I would do.
I would put Sheamus in there only because that's the only championship.
Yep. That's why that
exactly. Yep.
That's the only championship left on his accomplishments to achieve.
Yep.
Yep. That's a good point.
Or get John Cena in there. No, just kidding.
No.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Before everybody goes in my fucking DMs.
Yeah, get him.
Yeah, I mean Sheamus, Ilya. I could even see the likes of Bronson Reed being in there.
I really like the idea of Bronson Reed getting some gold pretty soon at the mid card level.
Yeah, I mean that's a guy who's kind of earned a spot to kind of challenge for that championship as well.
But then,
I mean, go ahead.
No, I'm thinking.
No, but if you make him babyface, if he's going to be a babyface, that's fine. But again, it's like they rush it too quickly, and that's where again, if we're going to make him a babyface, then we should have got the match that we got at Money in the Bank tonight or last night, and then you should have had Sami shaking his hand at the end, congratulating him. They should have him as a babyface makes sense because you can still have a match with him and Sheamus. He earns Sheamus's respect. He can still like Bronson Reed. His challengers play more for him being a babyface than they do being a heel with the current roster they have on Raw. So it'll just be interesting to do it. And like I said, it's just the way they booked it. It just wasn't booked correctly to get that accomplished.
So Carlos nailed pretty much how I felt about it with more detail. The whole switching to the babyface thing, they probably should have worked on that before, but I'm all Bronson Reed, go Fire Fist.
Yeah.
Anyways, we kind of gotten off the rails a little bit. But,
Please.
So, Carlos, we were on topic of the most underwhelming match of the card. William and I pretty much agreed it was the Braun Breaker and Sami Zayn. What was your most underwhelming match of the night?
Well, to me, it was two. I mean, there's two of them. It was that one, and it was the main event. I thought the main event was ass. I thought the main event didn't play well. It felt like, and again, if you want to talk about this later, it felt like Team Night 2 WrestleMania. I felt like they shouldn't have done Bloodline rules. They should have just done a like a no DQ match or a hardcore. It felt like a lighter version of WrestleMania Night 2, and to me it was just very slow paced. It wasn't about the action; it was more about just waiting for people to come out. I didn't like the main event at all, besides the return of Roman Reigns. Even that though, too, it just doesn't feel. It feels underwhelming to me. Like it just doesn't. It doesn't. I don't feel like the other bloodline has a chance, and if that's okay, if that's the way it is, I'd rather have DIY come out there. Like to me, like those guys they're so small compared to Randy and Owen and Kevin Owens. And to me, if they would have maybe had DIY come out and get those guys out, and then too, we all knew Jacob. It just to me, there was something off in the main event for me. Like I said, the best way to put it is T knew WrestleMania Night 2. Like they shouldn't have done it as Bloodline rules. They should have just had different. Should have just done it differently. Both those matches to me were off for me. They were both ass.
I have to actually agree with Carlos about the vast majority of that. I felt the same way. It felt like a try to repeat the WrestleMania moment.
Yeah. I mean, once was enough, but
The only reason it wasn't my worst match of the night was just because of the return of Roman. Otherwise, it would.
Yeah. Go ahead. Like you're already having trouble getting this over. Like, and again, if it's supposed to play out like this, like, but again, you're gonna wreck 4 guys for Roman Reigns. Just like what's the end game here? Like again, I have where I think it could go, but at the same time, it's like it just doesn't play out very well. Like you're not doing Solo any favors by having it feel like a lesser and having it be Bloodline rules too. Was just making it feel lesser than, but if that's the storyline where he's too big for his own britches and he's overstepping, then they have to let it play out. But it just didn't come off very well on television. Like I said, I would have had DIY come out yesterday and make the save instead of Randy and Kevin, and that would have probably played better off, and it would have given that pop for the hometown people. But it just felt like they went to the well too many times and they got their hands. They went in the cookie jar too many times and their hand got caught. It was a good way to put it.
all right, Brian, your essay in 1,000 words or less. Your most right?
So my underwhelming match tonight, I am going to give that to the Intercontinental Championship match, like you guys did. I'll give Pharaoh the dog the benefit of the doubt because I'm an animal lover. So since he was there, I won't make his match the worst. But the main event, I agree with you guys. It was a little lower end. For me, I was excited that Roman was back, but I did not really care for how they did it. I felt like Roman was walking downtown Cleveland and he said, well, what's all this crowd doing out here? What's this for? And he went on a little stroll into the arena and he said, I'm going to slowly walk out to the ring. Oh, is that Solo? Oh, I got to talk to him. It was very nonchalant and I didn't see the intensity. And I was almost wanting when Roman Reigns returned, I wanted to see a Roman Reigns beatdown on Solo, not just a casual, love tap to the face. I wanted to see more of a Sami Zayn's Royal Rumble beatdown, with all that kind of stuff. And we didn't really get the intensity. And he just kind of looked at Cody and then rolled out. And so it was too casual for my liking, which kind of ruined that a little for me.
And, I kind of have to follow up with that. Now that you mentioned it was kind of like a Naito walking into town. Can we make those entrances any more fucking longer to the ring?
And that thing too, the whole thing with Cody, and that's the thing too. Like I said, getting their hand cut in the cookie jar too much. Like the whole thing with like okay, it's okay for Jey Uso to do that, but everybody coming out before and talking on the way out, like Cody, it was too much. Like my God, guys, like again, they're doing it too many times, and it's like it's losing its aura. Like the whole thing with Cody, like my fucking God, like I went and worked 8 hours before he fucking got to the ring. It's like. They're doing it too many times and it's losing its specialty. Like the whole thing was just too much. Like give me a fucking break.
And this isn't a knock on talent, but it's kind of hard to take it serious when you got Kevin Owens coming down and then you got Randy Orton coming down to.
He was trying not to be Jeff Hardy last night because he was all excited. Like he's trying because he's having a good time and he's excited. For me, like let me ask you this, guys. Let me read you this for you guys. If they would have just had like a one-on-one match with Cody and had like Cody versus Solo, right? Let's say they have the bloodline come down, the new bloodline, but on the way to the ring, they get caught by Kevin Owens and Randy, and let's say even let's put DIY in there. They knock them back to the ring. They don't get to make it to the ring. Cody beats Solo. Cody like is leaving, celebrating. You have Solo in the ring, like looking down. Then Roman Reigns comes out to laugh at Solo and be like, "You really thought you were me?" Would they accomplish everything the same way that they did last night if they would have done it that way instead?
Well, first off, I wanted to finish my thoughts since you
Oh,
interrupted.
sorry. My bad.
Good God, man. Can you just jump in there right away? Before I answer that, I wanted to say it was hard for me to really take any of this serious because as Randy Orton was on his way,
He was slowing down, tagging hands.
yeah,
da-da-da-da-da.
I'm like, is this not a priority to go help Cody, or are you just there to slap fans' hands?
No, we all saw it.
And it wasn't
Jeff Hardy. Remember Jeff Hardy? Yeah.
and like again, this isn't a knock on the moment, but it's like, oh fuck, we really lost ourselves now. But no, I agree with that. I think I definitely would have changed it to where you had Cody and Solo have a slobber knocker of a match, have them both worn down, and then as soon as the match was over, I would have had Roman come down and then make it look like have him like stare down Cody, but then do the evil turn to Solo and just laid the smack down on his ass. That's what I would have done.
I love that. For me, Kevin Owens was the one I think that got into the ring the fast. He was running, but
Yeah.
with Roman, I mean, the psychology behind it. Solo, this guy has been squatting in your house, sitting at the head of your table, eating your food and petting your dog. And your mentality is to casually just walk in there like you're walking through the park and then you stumbled upon SummerSlam. I mean, I'm running that ring and you're lucky I don't grab the ring bell and start smacking them with it, I'd probably bring some handcuffs, tie them to the ropes and really have at it, because there's no intensity with how he came in for what this guy has done to his family.
What?
Well, Carlos asked for all of our reactions. I'm just looking at you.
Oh, I would have had fucking Roman come out after doing kind of what Carlos said and then just decimate, Solo first and then Cody.
Oh, yeah.
Because like you guys said, because I think they got this thing in their head, like, oh, everybody just likes the entrances now, and it's like, yeah, but it doesn't play off well when you're supposed to have this blood feud, and you're supposed to go help somebody. Like you guys said, it's just like, come on, guys, come on. And it's a mile long to get down there, fuck.
Well, yeah, wear them out, Ultimate Warrior-esque,
Yeah.
The ring and do any help. But
Like I said, they could have accomplished everything and just booked it another way because the way they played it out, it's like. But again, that's what they think. They think now the fans just want the big entrances and that's all they care about. And it's like, no, it's got to make sense too, guys. Like it just didn't play well at all.
no, it did not. All right, now that we kind of hit the underwhelming a bit, let's go to probably what we felt was match of the night. I'll start with Carlos on this one.
Oh, this is hard.
No.
That's what she said. Oh,
Not to him.
to me, I'm gonna predicate this. It would be Gunther and Damian, but to me, it doesn't make sense that Finn wouldn't want that title. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Like to me, like the only problem with that for me was I don't understand why Finn wouldn't want the title off of Damian. So that's the one part about that story that doesn't make sense to me. I'm actually gonna give it to I'm going to give it to Bayley and Nia Jax. I really like that match. I thought the match played well. I like the whole. I don't know. I think she's deserved it. I think it played well. Like what she's come back. She's put in the work. She's got herself into. She's put in the work in the ring. She's put in Triple H rewarded her. I'm a fan of her. I like the match. I thought it played well. The way it was booked, coming out later, like that Tiffany was, doing that to distract Bayley. I like that match a lot. To me, that was my match of the day.
I want to give a shout out to our colleague Davey, also known as Stampede or the Three Faces Stampede. Hey, Davey. We also have a comment before we go to Brian from Godbrain. He felt the Drew versus CM Punk was the best match of the night. We'll get a little more into that here shortly. Brian, what was your match of the night?
All right. There was a lot of matches I liked, and I'm sure we could talk about all those. For me, I'm going to just give mine to the opening match, Liv and Rhea, for the main reason. When I started to watch the PLE, I was like, all right, let's watch it. And I was kind of half wanting to watch it, but I knew I had to. And it really drew me in. And there was a lot of good story with, Dom and also with the match and that. And I thought it told a good psychology with the shoulder. And it set the tone for the night because everything seemed to once that set the tone, then it led into more Judgment Day gloom and doom throughout the night. So that storyline carried throughout the PLE. So I am going to give them credit for that in the opening match because that is hard to set a tone and let it, transition throughout the night like that.
And the second face of Stampede has showed up saying,
we need a third one. Come on, reveal yourself as that. What is it? Probably that Solo Sokoa stand that you are. Come on, we know it. Come on,
all right, William, let's have it.
You're not actually going to believe this.
Logan Paul with LA Knight.
That is exactly my pick for the best match for the night. I'm sorry, but they killed it, especially Logan. I've never seen a springboard go that far.
Well, as much as people will,
he's talented as hell.
Yeah, as much as people will rant and rave on his personal politics of things, Logan Paul is a very damn good athlete. And, even though he's only had 2 defenses, well, right. I guess you can say technically 3
now. Yeah.
3 defenses with his 273-day reign that came to an end last night. You have to give Logan Paul a lot of credit for a guy who has not been in the business very long.
He never ever shows any kind of rust, exhaustion. He just goes.
No, this came all natural to him, and he's one of those stellar athletes.
And I think both of them really, really meshed well with the way they worked with each other. I thought the match was pretty close to being flawless.
Well, and again, I think LA Knight was long overdue for some gold in this company.
Oh yeah,
I was.
That's the only part for me that it was. It's like this should have happened 6 months ago, but at the same time, and again, I think they lost a lot of his momentum. Even they should have maybe done LA Knight last year. He's lost his momentum, but at the same time, it doesn't take away from the match. It was a banger.
Kind of a couple things in the LA Knight aspect. I like him getting this win because it keeps him away from Cody Rhodes for a while. I feel like that is exactly where he needs to be and generate a little bit of buzz around that title. Also, locally, they had him working all weekend long. I mean, doing all kinds of media, doing ESPN Cleveland interviews. He was working from it was Thursday, Friday on. And the WWE, that tells me they put a lot of trust in him to represent the brand throughout all the media stuff leading into SummerSlam. So, I mean, they're definitely behind him.
All right. Sorry. My AVG screen just popped up.
Just as a reference for that, guys that we've seen do those medias locally are Cody Rhodes a couple years ago, Roman Reigns a few years before that. So, I mean, just to give you guys kind of a reference on that in my mind.
No.
Would you guys mind if I said something about Logan Paul real quick, or would you rather not? I'm okay with either or. I'm just asking about his personal stuff.
Well, go ahead. I mean, it's not like we're going to stop you now.
I wanted to say, I mean, the thing is about this. I mean, again, I've been Logan Paul's one of his biggest fans and things like that. I mean, it's not. I mean, I was one of the first people on his bus. But as someone who's a member of the LGBT community, I find his actions to kind of be appalling. But this past week, and for that reason, I won't be following him on social media anymore. I will not be listening to podcasts. I won't be drinking Prime. And I want to just say this as people in general. like, I respect the fact that at least he's not fake about it, and that he's and he says stupid things, and he doesn't try to be someone he's not. But he needs to realize that as someone who's marketing to kids, as somebody who is out there who kids look up to, he needs to be better at having empathy for people and trying to understand a different point of view than his perspectives, and realize that just like back in the day when Charles Barkley used to say, "I'm not a role model." When you're marketing to kids and you're somebody who has a lot of influence on them, you are a role model. So you need to do better, Logan Paul, at being a better human and being a better role model to the people that you market to. It doesn't take away from you in the ring, but you need to realize the influence that you do have over our future generations.
All right. The Three Faces Stampede's giving us a couple of match ratings. Liv Morgan defeating Rhea Ripley, 6.62 rating. LA Knight defeating Logan Paul, 7.08 rating.
I want to ask Stampede. What I want to just ask this quick question, Stampede, if you can put it. What did you rate Hogan and Rock at WrestleMania 18? I'm curious because I agree. Like, I think the Liv and Rhea match isn't like the most ring savvy match, but for the psychology and getting people in the ring, and I would rate it higher just for me from a wrestling, from an entertainment standpoint. I agree with everything Brian said. It was really well done, and also just like the way, like even the way Dom turned, it wasn't too obvious till the end. Like I just thought everything how they did the match was very well played. Like, kudos on the match. I would give that match a 9 out of 10.
We'll wait for that response a little later. We gotta get going.
Yep.
As far as my match of the night, I definitely have to give it to Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, and that two-timing dirty son of a bitch Dom Mysterio there. I thought that was a pretty good match. And Stampede gave you his answer. The Hogan,
perfect, right?
I gave it a 7.7.
7.75.
So, I thought that was definitely match of the night. A lot of great storytelling. We weren't sure which way Dom was going to swing, because who knows if, Will smiling.
Whoa.
William sitting here smiling with me using the term swing, but I mean, that was good psychology there, because it could have went two different ways. It could have been Dom sticking with Rhea, and the whole time it was Finn Balor that was going to swerve on Judgment Day, being the one who was actually, hanging out with Liv. But, unfortunately, they both turned on Judgment Day last night, which was the real interesting aspect. But why don't we go ahead and get into some of the sound bites from yesterday? I kind of want to talk a little bit with how some of the post show went. And why don't we go ahead and start off with LA Knight responding to Bill Apter's question.
Guy who knows the shit out of
LA Knight.
Yeah.
All right. So my question, of course,
tell me,
is that if Logan Paul doesn't come back for a rematch right away, who's the next guy that you see on the entire WWE roster that LA Knight would deem a worthy challenger for that United States heavyweight championship?
Bill, I just won the damn thing. I
know that, but
at this point, look, you got to ask the guy who's going to challenge me. I don't know. Look, there's a whole myriad. We've never been in a boom period like this. Everybody across the board, from top to bottom, is bringing it right now. Everybody is killing the game right now. So there's anybody who could come along and want to challenge me for this. But look, you got to understand something. This has been, like you said, long time coming. Long time coming, and there's no way I'm letting go of this anytime soon. So everybody, come on and see me.
And I wanted to kind of touch base on that one certain thing. A couple things. Logan Paul making a rematch, is that a match you guys would like to see?
I personally, I wouldn't hate that match because it was a good match that they had between the two. But I don't know if it would be necessary, right away. I feel like they can move ahead with a way of finding a new contender for LA Knight in this title.
Carlos?
To me, like, I just think I want to see Logan Paul go away to Royal Rumble. Honestly, I want to see him go to Royal Rumble. I want to see Logan Paul versus John Cena. That's a match I really want to see. Even though I want to see John Cena versus Cody Rhodes too. I want to see, like, to me, like, put Logan Paul on Netflix. To me, like, that's where he wants to go. He's been talking about that, the corporate synergy. I think that, to me, makes sense. I don't necessarily want to see that rematch. I want to see. Let LA Knight be who he think. Again, he was very cocky in that press conference, and again, it's fine. I mean, I feel like he's a little frustrations coming out, but let him go elevate the title and show that he's the guy that he deserved that spot. I'd rather see him elevate that title and go elevate the card than see a rematch.
No need to put any further focus on this. Move on. Don't run it back.
For me, one thing that he said in that soundbite there, we're at a boom period where everybody is like killing it, and I have to agree. I don't think there's anybody who is not worthy of challenging him for that championship. Would you agree?
Yeah, the problem now is just kind of sorting out what directions are going to be going with everybody, because I think this event altogether really set the stage for a lot of different directions.
Brian?
Yeah, and for this, the good news about LA Knight is he's seasoned enough to where you don't have to think about too hard about who to pair him with. I truly believe he could put on a good program, not just match, but actual program with interview segments and things like that with a lot of the talent. I believe the seed might have been planted there with Carmelo Hayes a little bit. So, you can see a little of that, but I do think that you could put him with anybody and he would be fine to work with them.
Carlos?
Yeah, like I agree. I think I want to see him versus Santos Escobar. Let him elevate Santos. Get DIY with LA Knight versus Garza and Roberto. Like, that's something I want to see. Like I said, if he wants, like, if he let him elevate that title, let it be back like when Rock had Intercontinental Championship, and you feel like this guy needs to be main event. Like, let him elevate that championship and let him elevate that roster and show that he is who I think he is. Again, I want to see him go and elevate the mid card, make that something special.
All right, let's go on to the crumble of Judgment Day last night. I'm going to play this a little bit here.
Let's be realistic.
Who's running that show now?
I don't. That show is over, guys.
It might be Carlito.
Tonight.
Carlito, right? Carlito. Who else?
Listen, I love Carlito, but if Carlito's running the Judgment Day, we have serious problems, guys.
The Judgment Day is in shambles. Damian Priest
I think
and
you could
Rhea
use the word
Ripley.
shambles tonight.
Shambles, all caps, exclamation point. Vince Carter, it is over for the Judgment Day, okay?
I gotta know the reason. What is the reason? Why, Finn?
It's a great question.
It's a question that hopefully we'll get an answer to in the coming weeks, but...
So, with that being said, do we think Judgment Day is totally done, or do you think we're going to see a second version of Judgment Day?
I think it would be a shame to just drop it altogether. I think it would be better to just shift it.
Like reform it?
Yeah.
Carlos?
They're not going to drop it yet. They'll try to reform it, and if it sticks, they'll stick with it. But I think they're getting that's money to be made. I think they'll try to reform it. But if it doesn't work, then they'll break it up. But for now, I think they definitely try to reform it.
Yeah. Before we go to Brian, I kind of wanted to throw out that one thought I had before too. We're also just down to the OGs of the Judgment Day too, Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, because if you recall, it was Damian, Rhea, and Edge that started that group, So, Brian, your thoughts?
Yeah, and that was the perfect segue for my thought. This goes into sometimes what I like to call petty booking, right? I think with Edge being over in AEW, I think the WWE would maybe from a petty booking standpoint like the idea of anything he created to go by. And I could see them just kind of starting to break this up. They didn't do it immediately, right? They let it run its course, but I don't see them keeping that alive for somebody else that's in another company, even though it, has come up in a different version.
All right. Now we're going to go into the really fun one here between Drew and Drew McIntyre.
Are we talking? Did you have Gunther? Did you have any more about Gunther on the thing, or are we done talking about, or is that still to come, or no?
That's still to come. Calm down.
Okay, making sure.
God damn.
Bad monkey nacho cheese.
Oh,
Just
shit.
asking.
Sugar.
Let the host control the show. Calm your ass down there.
Sorry,
monkey.
Daddy. Sorry, Daddy.
Jesus Christ. Y'all wonder why I drink so many damn beers in a day. Holy hell. All right. Why don't we get into a couple of sound bites that I have for the entire Drew and CM Punk situation, as well as Seth Rollins here.
We haven't mentioned CM Punk and Drew McIntyre and that insane match that has been building for months. CM Punk in his first singles match at a premium live event in over a decade. What did you make of what happened there with Seth Rollins as the guest referee? Drew McIntyre gets the win, but there was a lot more happening than just that.
Look, you got a ring full of 3 hot heads, and Drew was the most level-headed of the 3.
Great point.
In that moment, when you're up against a monster, a beast like Drew, you can't be worried about bracelets. I know that's my friend. I'll tell him that to his face. Look, that's not your actual wife and your actual dog in the ring. Take care of business. Worry about jewelry later, my man.
Drew, are you not worried at all that, I mean, you've
No.
pissed CM Punk off in the past, and he has made it his mission to keep you from ever becoming a champion in WWE. You're not worried that this is going to motivate him even further to keep you in any way he can from winning a title in your next opportunity?
Not in the slightest. Now that he's felt the backhand of McIntyre, the chops of McIntyre, the claymore of McIntyre, he knows how dangerous I am, and he just proved what I've said all along. He's a big hypocrite. He's only got one person to blame. CM Punk screwed CM Punk.
And kind of to go along with our friend Ted the Hillbilly Hill, there's the real truth, and then there's the Hill truth. And I can't say how so true that is with what Drew McIntyre said, because in that match, CM Punk did screw CM Punk. He was too worried about that damn bracelet rather than worrying about taking care of the job at hand. And if I was in Drew McIntyre's shoes, yeah, I wouldn't be worried about CM Punk. I'd say, screw the little bastard. I got my win. Now I'm going to go back and try to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Your thoughts, Will?
Yeah, no, I'm commentless on this one.
All right. Well, then we'll go right to Brian on it.
So I think this one had a lot of heavy story into it. I do believe, and I feel like this is leading to bad blood and maybe a triple threat Hell in the Cell match. I feel like that could be the big payoff for all 3 of these individuals. I also like that idea because it's very safe. One thing, we always have to keep in mind with CM Punk is he gets injured, and they just randomly seem to pop up like whack-a-mole. So if you kind of still keep these 3 intertwined with each other, and if an injury happens really to any of them, you can still move ahead with a program with 2 guys if you need to. So I feel like it was done. It did give us a little bit of the Bret Hart Undertaker match with Shawn Michaels of the special referee from SummerSlam years ago. A little nostalgia there, but I ultimately do see this ending at bad blood.
Carlos?
I'm fascinated by all this because I think what Drew said was valid. And I think, again, I actually like Brian's idea. I think putting them in a triple threat match at Hell in a Cell would make sense because I think you can protect Punk there and not have to have him do so much of the offense, and that would protect him. And because again, this feud needs that kind of ending, right? So I do like the idea of a triple threat. The thing that I find fascinating about this is because there's so many ways that they could take this. And again, as a fan, I don't know where it's going to go. And to me, that's, as a wrestling fan, that's what you want. Like, you don't want predictability. You don't want to know where it's going to go. Because I could definitely see it where Drew turns babyface, Punk turns heel, and Seth turns heel. I can see all 3 of them doing a triple change all in the same match, and because of where their characters are going. Like, it's intriguing because you don't know where it's going to end, and there's so many different ways they can take it by where they're taking the storyline. And kudos to the year Drew McIntyre's had. And I think so much gets lost. This guy, He won the Elimination Chamber. He won Money in the Bank. He won the WWE title at WrestleMania, and now he's beating CM Punk at SummerSlam. The dude's having a hell of a year, man, and he's killing it on social media.
And speaking of people having a special year, now that Carlos was so eager to get to, we're going to talk about Gunther. As we all know, Gunther ends up winning the World Heavyweight Championship thanks to, I guess you can say, a little help of Finn Balor, but Gunther kind of has a different view on that. Let's get his take.
Gunther, you predicted this win, but how does this feel having the title around your waist?
It feels deserved.
Well, we did see massive betrayal between two members of the Judgment Day. Your opponent, Damian Priest, betrayed by his friend, his brother, Finn Balor. Does that taint this victory at all?
Nothing's tainted, no reservations, nothing to be ashamed of. From this day forth, Monday Night Raw and the legacy of the World Heavyweight Championship belong to me. And if anybody out there thinks I don't deserve this, they know where to find me.
Very interesting words there from Gunther.
Especially the first two.
You mean, yeah, very much deserved.
Deserved.
Yeah.
Great.
Why don't we go to Brian's thoughts on Gunther there?
Yeah. Gunther, this is the right choice to make him the face of your wrestling brand. I expect him to go to the moon with this. I expect him to kind of what we've seen with the Intercontinental Championship. I see him being a very dominant world champion, leading even into WrestleMania next year. We just got to figure out who that's going to be against. But Gunther is, I would expect that kind of answer out of him in that clip. I would expect him to, a win is a win, and he's world champion. And at the end of the day, Damian Priest is not. And that's how we're moving forward. So I do like this interview in this segment.
And before we go to Carlos, Stampede asked, do you guys see an issue where a guy like Punk being in such a prominent storyline needs to be protected to this extent?
100%.
Yes, it's always going to be an issue. We're at that point of his career.
I mean, he's pretty injury prone, isn't he? So
yeah. And not even just the injury, it's also the mental aspects, right? Because it's the ticking time bomb element. So there's too much there that you can't just put him in a very prominent one-on-one match without being dependable.
But I give him kudos too. Like the thing I was thinking about this yesterday, and like I give him his props for at least coming back. He could have also went the other way and said, "Fuck this, I'm done. Like I don't want to. I keep getting injured. I don't want to keep trying to come back." So I think I give him his props for being dedicated and wanting this and wanting to like leave his legacy on the right note. I give him props for fighting through this and not just saying fuck it, So that part is you remember too, and a lot of it just reminds me of the old Undertaker. I mean, that's the thing where Undertaker. Maybe that's what we get, where he just only has 1 or 2 matches a year, and maybe that's what. And again, maybe they're just trying to show him that's what we need to settle on, because that would be the thing with Undertaker. He would have these matches, and he was so injured. He would be so injured afterwards, like he would only wrestle once a year because that's all he could do. And maybe that's what we eventually get with Punk.
One of the things to add to that, though, the Undertaker has always been dependable, 100% for that.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's something that they never had to manage with him. But I do agree with what you're saying. There's that older factor that you have to manage these stars different.
Well, it's pretty much just evolving with how work environments are anymore. And yeah, I mean, that's always going to be a changing thing. It's just like you guys mentioned, it's trying to get adapted to it.
I think, go ahead, John, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, go ahead and move on with Gunther, but go ahead and add to what you say.
The one thing I want to just add to this is like CM Punk, they have to readjust. He's going to have to readjust his promo paddles if he can't back it up in the ring. Because like we were talking before, the way this match has been set up, I want to see it. Like I want to see some big blow off Hell in a Cell match. So he's going to have to remember promo wise go to the future. If you're going to have these blood promos and make these blood feuds with these guys, you better make sure you can back it up in the ring. Like that's something he's going to think about in the future.
I totally agree with that. All right, Carlos, let's get your thoughts on the Gunther there.
I guess my question to you guys is the one I made before is like, does it make sense that Finn would help him, or to me, wouldn't it make more sense that Finn would want to take the title off Damian? So that's my only problem with this storyline. But otherwise than that, and it made me sad because I think Damian really showed what he could do yesterday. And to me, I just feel like a lot of this opportunity, like they could have done so much more with this title reign. I'm interested to see where it goes now. But I think putting the title on Gunther is the right decision. But for me, like the reason I picked Damien to retain yesterday was I just hope they're going to keep it on him for a long time. So I hope with this reign and with the thing of Gunther, I just hope that he's going to keep the title for a long time because he deserves to. And again, night and day, right? Like Gunther remembered who he was in his promo compared to the Braun Breaker would, right? Like he stayed on brand with this promo he did yesterday, and that was just he did a good job with that afterwards.
Why don't you go ahead and answer first, Brian?
Yeah, to answer your question, I believe, obviously that was more about hurting Damian as far as the Judgment Day. But I do think that they did a really good job of making Damian a believable main event championship holder in a very short time. And I think back, there's a history of doing that. You give a guy a title for a few months, you give him a nice little short run. And if it's effective, that leads to him being a bigger star a year or so down the road. And I seen that with Damian, and I really did like this match yesterday. I thought he gelled really well with Gunther, and I would like to see that program maybe down the line when there's not Judgment Day, not immediate, but maybe a year out or so.
And I would have to say that was definitely his better match. He's probably 100%. His best match in his WWE or in his World Heavyweight Championship reign. I don't like to point out botches because I've never been an in-ring performer, and I don't ever like to judge people on something I've never done myself. But as a fan standpoint, looking at it, couple of things to look at, has Damian been having some physical health issues that we don't know about or whatnot? But after watching last night's performance, yeah, no doubt he definitely can hang on the main event level. I think right now the focus should be is get his business finished with the split of the Judgment Day and then refocus on getting in World Heavyweight Championship contentions. William?
100% good with Gunther, having this title now. I've got something playing in the back of my mind just because of the fact Sami Zayn just lost his title. Well, who beat Gunther?
Yeah. Well, keep in mind your current Intercontinental Champion now is another one that has a victory over Gunther too.
Right.
So, there could be lots of angles going on with this. Stampede throws in his comment, Gunther elevated Priest more than the booking of Priest. I kind of have to agree with that to some extent. Your reactions, Brian?
Yeah, I want to add to that actually, because not only did Gunther elevate Priest, but he also elevated the King of the Ring tournament with that win. So that was another factor I wanted to throw in there.
Carlos?
I agree with that too, but like I said, Priest showed out last night, and they have good chemistry. But again, it just made me wish that we would have seen more of that from Damian, like in this title reign. They could have had him defend the title a lot more, because again, he showed that he can hang yesterday. And it just made me want more for him. Like I wish he would have been booked stronger as the champion, but I definitely think, it was a well done match. It was really good. Like, and again, for me, like after hearing you guys talk about it, like it makes sense. It makes sense to me that for Finn, it was just about hurting Damian. So with I can buy into that. So thank you for that, guys. That does tell me more on this. But yeah, I'm excited to see where they go with this. And I definitely think Gunther, they elevated both yesterday. I think the way Damian played it fed into Gunther winning that title more. It was well done.
All right, before we go on any further, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who's been tuning in live through our YouTube, Twitch, Carlos and myself on our X accounts. And if you were looking through our website, thefansofprowrestling.com, where we have our YouTube channel embedded there. Why don't we go ahead and move on to? Should we do the Cody Roman bloodline next?
I don't think so. That really didn't have a whole lot to it. I would go with the Paul Levesque interview.
Okay, well, there. William made an executive.
I think we talked about it at the very beginning already enough about what we feel about that match.
What? Say that again.
What?
Sorry.
I think we covered at the beginning already how we feel about that main event match. I agree with William. Move on.
Well, I wanted to talk more storyline wise, but
Sure.
why don't we talk about? Yeah, why don't we go to Paul's post show interview? A couple of topics I wanted to hit on. Denise Salcedo had a question as far as the NXT TNA partnership. Let's go ahead and play that, and then we'll give our reactions.
Denise Salcedo, Instinct Culture. So speaking of NXT, I did wanted to ask, because we're seeing this collaboration with TNA, and so I wanted to ask first and foremost why WWE decided to pursue a longer, I guess you can say, relationship here with TNA from what we've been seeing, and also what we can expect from that, what the end game is, what the fans can expect from that.
So I think, as we've said before, we're open for business, right? Whether that's what you see in NXT with TNA, or whether that's different international opportunities. We're going to look at what's best for WWE, but how does that benefit us? How does it benefit them? How does it benefit us? You know, I think there's opportunities as you look at NXT. A lot of those kids are young, and what they really need is repetitions. They need opportunities to go do. We can only create so many of them. So when we have opportunities to partner with others, help their business at the same time, get them on a platform that is seen by so many more people, use the strength and the power of our brand across social media to help them. I think you'll see more of that, right? So when we have the opportunity to help them, while at the same point in time getting the future of not just us, the future of this business, more opportunities and more reps to improve what they do as performers, to improve what they do on every aspect of what they go out day in and day out and do. You know, the world is different now. There aren't territories where you're out there working a couple 100 days a year, and I don't know that anybody would want to, but we all did it. But it's how everybody got where they got to, and how they got good, and how they learned this. So we have to create that, and we have to give those opportunities to other people to grow and to have that, because the only way they're going to learn how to do this, the only way you learn to go out there and feel that crowd and understand it and change what you're doing and have that dynamic, because you plan it all you want in the back. When you get out there, and that's where the magic happens. I don't care what anybody says. And those decisions, those in the moment game day decisions that are made there live, your nuances, that's what makes this great. So it's reps. It's really reps, especially when you're just starting in the business. So I want them to have that. So when we can create those opportunities, to me, whoever that's with, I'm excited to do it. Thank you.
Carlos, let's start with your reaction.
If you read the spoilers, and I'm not gonna, but I think there was four NXT talents that went over to TNA this weekend with their TV tapings. So they're doing that partnership. But I think the important thing that needs to be remembered in what they said is the first thing he said was WWE's interest. And so I think at the end of the day, it's going to be whatever benefits them. But I do like that, because I agree with what he said. There's only so much repetitions they can give these guys. There's only so many matches. I think letting them go out and venture out and letting them try different things, I think that it accomplishes two things. It gives them more repetition, but it also feeds something in that talent that when their contract comes up, they might think, do I want to go somewhere else? If you're letting them be fed in other organizations and get to do things like a TNA or Bloodsport, I think that only benefits them. And I do think that they're building a partnership, because I think with the talent that they said to TNA, looking at some of the booking decisions, I think they said to them, you can have this talent, do what you want with this. So I think it's interesting. I don't really see them doing big things other than what they're doing currently. But again, I think for the structure of TNA compared to NXT, they're equals as far as what they do, as far as building size and stuff like that. So I think that it was well said, but at the end of the day, it's going to be about their interests first.
Brian?
Yeah, so there's two things reading between the lines that I see here, and one of them does mirror a little bit of what Carlos was saying. The first is, I hear talent raid. That's ultimately what I hear. I do hear partnership, but I do hear a talent raid. You always got to keep young talent coming in that pipeline of NXT, and you got to pump different things to get that talent in that well, so to speak. And so I do see that partnership as a little bit of a talent raid. It reminds me a little of old school ECW and those kind of partnerships. And then ultimately the AEW effect is my other thing. I feel like if you want to kill off your competition a little and hurt them, take away somebody that you know and they partnered with in the past and lock that away to where they don't have as much access to that talent as well, as they're still trying to grow their company out. So I think those two things are reading between the lines of what was kind of happening here and what's said. And those are kind of my takes.
William, do you want to give any thoughts?
I really don't have anything to add on to what they said. It could be a great move, but it could also backfire.
Yeah, and really, I hope the second part of what he said after what best benefits WWE, but also benefits them. I really hope he holds true to that part, because you have to learn not just give, but also not just take, but also give. And, if you don't have a balanced give and take, you could sour a lot of working relationships. And I think right now, this is the moment for WWE to kind of fix some of those soured relations.
But they need to do it treading lightly.
Yeah, they really need to kind of understand, play fairly. Don't just take it all in for yourself. I mean, don't make yourself look weak, but make sure everybody works well with each other. Sorry, Carlos, go ahead.
No, Brian, like what Brian said, it added something to make me think about this, and maybe maybe what they're doing right now is a compliment to AEW, because maybe they're looking at the fact that, you know what, AEW built, and again, let's be real, AEW built a strong partnership with New Japan, and now with CMLL, they kind of let the one with AAA fall to the wayside. But it's like they are, but if you look at like where AEW, like you look at the Will Ospreys, the Jay Whites, I'm forgetting the other guy, Okada, like they're getting first dibs because of these relationships, the partnerships they built with these other organizations, and it's it's not a bad thing that again, if they can make 6 times what they're making in New Japan and go work for AEW and still get to go work in AEW, like it's a no brainer that these talents would go and choose AEW. So maybe now WWE is looking at it from a standpoint, okay, we need to go if again we go over TNA, somebody who doesn't have a lot of money, and then we partner with them, let their talent work here. We get first dibs with these guys, and we get to take that talent from them. And I don't think TNA is going to make a big fuss about it, because they understand who they are. But in return, if you're giving them the talent back, I think that's a good partnership. So maybe they're looking at it from a way of, we need to build on what AEW is doing, because we're losing out on a lot of people that we wanted, and so we need to start building those partnerships. It could be a positive in that way too,
Yeah, and we're going to kind of touch back on the Gunther comments. Stampede, right? Gunther is in the category of a select few that can elevate whoever he gets in the ring with. Another one in WWE that fits that bill is Dragunov, as he did with Braun. And yeah, completely agree with that statement there. I kind of lost my thought now. Why don't we go on to the next topic that was brought up to Paul regarding one of my most dreaded topics, because I think you should only have one major event be a 2-night PLE.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Well, let's play. Yeah, let's play this clip because I think he does a good job explaining some of it. But let's give our thoughts right after the audio here.
Hey, Paul, Daniel Trainer from Us Weekly. How are you?
Hey, man.
You mentioned sort of the future. In 2 years, we know we have a 2-night SummerSlam in Minneapolis. We know we have a 2-nighter in Indianapolis on the horizon. I'm curious if you think there's a chance that tonight was the last ever one-night SummerSlam. What that says sort of about the business, and if there have been any conversations about going 2 nights for any other PLEs. I'm thinking the Royal Rumble.
Please, let's take it one step at a time. Yeah. Who knows what the future brings, but I do think that even tonight, seeing this SummerSlam 7-match card goes almost 4 hours to me. And yet there was a lot of stuff we could have put into this. And even some people saying, well, why wasn't that in there? Because it would have been 8 hours, right? And you still need stuff for Raw. You still need massive content for SmackDown, right? You still need all that stuff. As we continue to grow, we'll take it, like I said, step by step. So is this the last SummerSlam that you see that is one night? I think so, but we'll see where that goes long term. I'm excited about that opportunity. As far as other PLEs going that way, we're always, you can never say this is just what we do. And then that's it, and that's locked in, and that's what we do. It's just the way it is. And right, if you go back 5 years, who would have thought we would have been doing 2-night WrestleManias, let alone 2-night WrestleManias and 2-night SummerSlams? So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. That's an important part of where we go with it, but an important part of where we go with that also is bringing these events around the globe. We are truly a global company. There's no place that WWE is not seen. There's no place where we don't have a massive fan base and following. We want to bring WWE to the world, not just, be seen as a U.S.-based company, but that's seen everywhere else. We want to literally be everywhere else. And be as big as we possibly can be everywhere. So it's always sort of a moving target, but makes for a hell of an exciting ride. So I'm excited.
With Stampede throwing in a comment, so on the 2-night shows with smaller cards, SummerSlam was 4 hours, produced 109 minutes of in-ring, with 45% of the show being featured matches. Again, I have not been sold very well on why SummerSlam needs to be a 2-night event. WrestleMania, I can understand. That's their king of shows. But for me, SummerSlam, I don't know. I don't think we need any more than WrestleMania.
No, for me, there's only one weekend I want completely dominated by freaking wrestling, and it's the one that's been traditionally, since they started the 2 nights, to be WrestleMania. I don't have all the time in the world to just be making every weekend about watching it.
Right. And one of the biggest things too I want to point out is and I'm not favoring WWE, but I have a hard time when a pay-per-view goes past the 3-hour mark.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have heard my gripe that many times because, one, I go to work early in the morning. I'm sorry. I do not have until 10 o'clock our time, which would be about midnight East Coast time, to keep watching the goddamn pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
3 hours is probably my limit. And then sometimes I could be nodding off, dozing off. And it's not that the card's boring. It's just sometimes it goes a little too much. Probably much like our show today, but but anyways, Brian, let's start with your thoughts on 2-nighters.
Yeah, and I will say, with our show, I feel like we're having good content right now, and as long as there's a good dialogue, right, and even on these kind of shows, if there's good content on SummerSlam, it makes sense. I'm not wanting a 2-night like you guys said, every month. But, I would take, a 3.5 hour show in one night versus splitting that up across 2 nights. And if the content is good, fine, but it is a long time to sit there and really immerse yourself. And at the end of the day, I think it comes down to, I know it always comes down to the money and the sponsorships and the things like that. And I know that keeps us away from going back to a pay-per-view model and shelling out $60 and all that fun stuff. But ultimately, I think they also could be more creative in finding those different avenues and still market their product good.
Carlos?
For me, like I go like if you look at the ring yesterday, there's 3 sponsors on the ring when there was only 1 before. So it's all about money, and that's what it is. And in the same time, like I already talked about before I said on the show, I'm not going to go see WWE live. I mean, maybe I would go to a SmackDown because it's too expensive. I can enjoy it on TV for cheaper. I get the same feel because it's a very produced program. As long as there's fans out there that want to pay. I mean, Brian, you were talking the cheapest tickets were like $1,000 when paid for SummerSlam.
Yeah, and there were some when they initially went on sale that were $3,000. I was like, nope.
Yeah, and that was sky high. I mean, so it's market and demand, right? I mean, that's business. I mean, they're publicly traded. I mean, I know Brian and I own stock. I own stock, not a lot, but just so I can say I'm a shareholder. So if I want to bitch about the company, I can bitch about the company, But that's really why I own some. I own part. I'm gonna bitch about it. That's why I own some of it. But to me, like it's about money for me, right? So I mean that's what it's about. But like Brian made a good point though, and that's the thing I got to remember as a fan. That means that I get to enjoy the PLEs for only $7 a month. And again, I don't pay anything. My friend lets me share. Like that's the thing I got to remember sometimes. Like. But for me, like it needs to be, I want to see 2 things if they're going to do this. And this is just mine. I know no one else is going to probably agree with me on this, but if you're going to do it, then go back to Brand Pacific pay-per-views and start doing like a pay-per-view that's just SmackDown, start doing one that's a Raw. And with that said, if you're going to do 2 night SummerSlam, 2 night WrestleMania, then do 1 night for Raw, 1 night for SmackDown. Royal Rumble, that's one where you can mix it because you're going to have a men's and women's. That could be the 2 night event because eventually I'm sure it goes there. That is going to be mixed. But if you're going to do it, have it be 1 night Raw and have it be 1 night SmackDown, and then that challenges them as a company to make sure that they're giving us content on both shows that make it worthy of it being of making sure somebody goes and wants to pay those prices for 2 nights. Where they don't just to get the voted in, so that challenges them more to be more compelling. But at the end of the day, it's all about money. And I guess for me too, just shout out more of you're getting to sign more talent because of this money coming in. Like show me more of what you're doing with that money, like as far as signing talent, giving back to the community, than just about the profit line. That's what I want to see.
And one of the things I don't think I've ever mentioned, but the sponsorships, I like to think about what they put on those sponsorships during certain matches, because WrestleMania, they had dude wipes as a sponsorship during a women's championship match. I'm going to say that, okay? So they got to think logically about what they're trying to market and what's happening on the TV.
Kind of like Domino's and using the pizza cutter.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyhow, I don't know if we're going to really get into the whole bloodline deal. Maybe we'll save that for a pre-recorded episode for next week.
Yeah, hold off on that.
I know this is kind of news to Carlos, but we're not going to be live next week. We will be doing a pre-recorded episode for Sunday. We'll have it done Friday, but it will release at normal time on Sunday. But anyhow, why don't we just get to the last topic and it's not necessarily SummerSlam related, but this is something that Cody Rhodes kind of hit that I think a lot of the IWC needs to listen to. We're just going to go ahead and play it right now.
Hey, Cody.
Hey.
Chris Van Vliet with Insight.
Yeah, let me tell you something, Chris.
Uh-oh.
The other day, I did it. You all should hear this. Gabby, you've heard this. I'm terrified of doing media, guys, because I did an interview with Chris that I thought was a home run. Oh man, I killed it. Didn't say anything dumb. That's the big thing. I didn't say anything dumb. I didn't, whatever. Found out on social media that it was not the best interview, and a lot of people were really upset. So if you wonder why certain wrestlers have become gun shy about doing interviews and stuff, it's just because it's terrifying. I know. Do you have a question now? Because this is
I'm sorry.
No, I enjoed
our
the
conversation.
Interview. I did.
Yeah. And thank you for it.
No, well, yeah.
Oh boy.
Here we go again.
So one thing I want to kind of touch on this, I kind of feel sometimes I think the IWC does get a little out of control with the way they treat and critique things. And the problem is a lot of them are keyboard warriors, and it drives me nuts because anybody who thinks that it's just you going through things, you got to realize these guys work their asses off. They're spending a lot of time away from their families. I mean, physically, mentally, it's draining as hell. But to also kind of touch base this is also why I don't seek out to do interview with talent. At some point, would I love to interview talent? Yes. But at the same point, I suck at doing interviews. I don't have, as you guys can clearly hear now, I don't have the voice as an interviewer or what do they say? I have the face of the DJ, just not the voice, but I kind of understand a lot of what Cody's saying. And I kind of feel maybe this is something IWC social media needs to really understand is sometimes I think you get a little too heavy in your critique process. I'm not saying don't have an opinion, don't still critique, but maybe not come out too strong because it's not always easy to do things like these. Brian, I know you've been kind of media-esque in many ways compared to all of us. I really would love to get your thoughts first on this out of anyone here.
Sure. So for me, I guess my thought is that there's a difference between thoughts and criticisms, right? So, you have every right, and I think Carlos at one point said it best, you don't have to explain your fandom to somebody, right? You're allowed to like things and dislike things. And when you interact with a lot of the talent like this, just remember this is somebody that is working a very microscoped job. They are under the microscope nowadays more than anything. I always used to say that John Cena could have done Hulk Hogan's job in the 80s, but Hulk Hogan couldn't do John Cena's job in the modern era because of how much media there is and how much social media, microphones. And so ultimately, I do believe that when you approach these guys and you talk to them, keep in mind that they're, let's bring up the things that are not the no-go zones, right? Like figure out what those topics are that, would ruin a relationship that you may have and want to talk with these people in the future. And they're able to pull back the curtain for us a little in today's world, but we don't want that curtain to be a sealed door and then it locks out, our community from being able to interact with the stars that we value and that we just enjoy their work so much. So that's kind of my initial overall thoughts on approach in how we go about this world.
Carlos?
I think when Cody was talking to Chris Van Vliet, I think he's just talking about the pro wrestling fans being tribalistic and things like that. And I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna let my plane here. When we were in our space on Monday, we had somebody who was a wrestling fan who made the comment to me like, "Oh, Carlos, I didn't even know that you were a wrestling fan because all your posts are about food and stuff like that." Now, and again, I'm gonna just say like this. Thank you to the people who support me, who maybe monetize on X and who allow me to have fun like this, because I don't have to worry about, and I don't have to take cheap shots at companies, and I don't have to try to get impressions by being so wrestling based, and I could just enjoy being a fan, and I don't have to resort to things like like trying to take Cody's words and turn them around. And when he was just being honest, giving an honest thought about his time in AEW and trying to make it about AEW versus WWE. So I'm going to just say it as a point of gratitude and just saying thank you to people who support me, who allow me to just enjoy wrestling and post fun content, but I can still do something like this and be a fan and not have to worry about turning tribalism. And that's the thing I want to just tell wrestling fans out there. You can enjoy AEW without having to criticize WWE. You can the same with WWE and do with AEW and let these talents just go and give their honest thoughts about their time and cherish their moments and cherish their times working with other companies and being able to talk about that, which quit trying to look so much to the critical points of it, and just appreciate the fact that they're willing to give their time and talk about their experiences and give us and let us as fans enjoy it and getting to hear that part of them. I like having the curtain peeled back. I like hearing their thoughts about it. Don't make it so toxic to where they can't do that anymore for us, please.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Madness 24/7, 365 on the X app, who's tuned in live. Thank you for joining us, and we
appreciate you, brother.
And you know, I kind of want to touch base with Cody. One comment saying, you know, didn't say anything dumb. I say dumb things all the time. Carlos always is the first to react on it. You son of a bitch. But you know, and I think some of that is why I don't like to do stuff like this, but I try not to let it stop me either. And you know, kind of today as an example, I know we could have a lot more viewers if I worked harder on getting us out there, but we have 328 live viewers right now. That's a kind of a new record for us, I believe. And you know, obviously those of you who keep tuning in each and every week, I know majority of it's probably Carlos because majority of it's coming from his X app. But you know, we're always very thankful for you guys tuning in because, you know, I don't always post the greatest stuff out there, but you know, I always try to work on getting things to keep you engaged or, you know, strike up wrestling conversations or any other conversations, you know, kind of like Carlos with his food posts. You know, we just like to go out there, have fun, and get a wider audience. And thank you to all of you who take the chance and listen to us every week. Do you have anything to touch on this subject before we?
No.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. So why don't we go ahead and go into our closing thoughts and shout outs and closing thoughts for the week here. Brian, why don't you go ahead and start off?
Oh yeah. So for me, I believe that SummerSlam, you know, was a B played per view, right? It wasn't changing the way we're thinking of the wrestling world, but it was no alcohol required to enjoy it. It was a good time. Ultimately, I want to say thank you to everybody that supports us on Twitter X. If you guys want to keep the conversation going, Carlos and Stampede, our teammates over there, run all kinds of Twitter X chats over there and all kinds of interaction talk shows there. Also, the fans of ProWrestling.com. We got a lot of great content over there from a lot of great creators like Ted's Takes, Wrestling Worldwide, and among many others. So thank you guys each and every week for the fun fan interaction.
Carlos?
You know, I want to just shout out, like, again, I just want to shout out everybody who supports us on X. I want to shout out the people who come into our spaces. I want to shout out talent like Nasty Leroy, who gives his time to understanding wrestling and gives his thing. But also, I want to tell you guys, there's plenty of content out there. You know, we have somebody in our chat and who supports us, Two Heads One Stable. You know, they're very pro bloodline. They're very pro. You know, that storyline. So it's like you can go and again, but at the same time, they don't come into our chat. They're not toxic towards the AEW fans, things like that. Go out there and find your niche and go find your group who supports your fandom, you know. And I just want to thank the people who support us, who are open minded and who show grace and courtesy to people's fandoms, and they don't go criticizing people, and they just come into our spaces and have a good time. I'm proud of the wrestling community that we're building. And to anybody who supports us with a retweet or like, or who's listening to this now and supports us and gives us the drive to do it for another day, I just thank you all. Thank you all for your support.
I know this is going to be short and sweet. William?
Yeah. So pretty much thank you to all the listeners, obviously, but also to this semi-dysfunctional family we've got going on here.
Oh, what the fuck you saying here?
I said it.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, I want to echo Brian, Carlos, without any of you guys tuning in and listening to us, and for the community we're building, we love to support all wrestling. We don't care if there's wrestling you don't like, or, as long as you're a respectful fan to others, that's all we care about. And we'll support you as long as you support us. But we all, like they've mentioned, we also have a group chat on the X Space, or not X Space, but the X app. And we're just going to go ahead and start it off with getting our credits out there. Yeah, if you want to join our X group chat, you can follow me, John, at WF Inside Pod. Carlos?
At C to the LOS 77, and also at Conquer the No.
Brian?
At the Brian Adkins, and also Tap Out Talk on YouTube.
And you can also follow Stampede at David Rober 7174. What? Sure, thank you. If you just DM us, or if you're interested in joining our group chat, feel free to let us know. We'll obviously we're going to vet you first, make sure we know you're cool, and then we'll get you in there. Everybody has fun doing different wrestling takes, so we just don't get a little too rowdy is all we ask. But
can I give a quick shout out really quick?
Sure.
I want to shout out someone who's in our group chat, Spencer. Like, he's somebody who came in, and this is, and again, just the kind of wrestling fan I like. He's very WWE, but he started following TNA after seeing Joe Henry, and I was become a fan of that. He went and listened. He took some of Stampede's recommendations, and now he's a fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like, I just want to shout out wrestling fans like that. Like, be like that. Like, be open minded and ask for things like that. And Davey's someone great to go ask for things like that too. Like, be open minded and just be open minded to giving new things a chance. So I want to just shout him out. And I'll give him a shout out later with his X handle. But I appreciate fans like that. Thank you for being part of my community.
And I'm going to give a few shout outs there. Jim over at Fan in the Van. He is very interactive with me on the wrestling post and always giving us a great shout out on his every episode of Fan in the Van, along with his co-host Garrett when they do the Steel Until talk. Also throwing some love out there to Aaron at Brutally Honest Sports. Nate over at Nate's Daily Wager. Chris and Deb with Today We Laughed and Learned. Ted, don't make mistakes. Trust Ted's takes. Go check out his YouTube channel there. He does a few short video clips. Keeps us up to date with a lot of the AEW and other promotions. Did you have any other shout outs to give, Brian? Or
no, I'm good. Thank you, guys.
All right. Also, be sure to check us out on our webpage. I'm still in the works of trying to develop everything, trying to work on getting Stampede's top 10 rankings. I got Excel just kind of being a little bit of a bitch with me, but I'm getting it down, I promise. Go check us out there at thefansofprowrestling.com, our YouTube channel at Wrestling Fans Insight. As Brian mentioned earlier, his channel at Tap Out Talk. Also, you can follow us on Twitch, the Fans of Pro Wrestling. Go check out Carlos on Instagram at Rainbow Goodness _ And also, be sure to follow our missing co-host. Hopefully she'll be back sometime. Heather at Bama Girl _ 4 _ EVA, Bama Girl Forever, Road Tide Bitches. And we are going to call it good again. We will not be live, but we will have a recorded episode airing next Sunday at our normal time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. And without any further ado, I think we're going to call it good. All of you have a great week. Oh, wait. Carlos, X Spaces this week.
Yeah, we'll be back. I'm going to do another one Tuesday. So we'll be back on Tuesday and Thursday. And then I'll talk to David. Maybe we'll do it next Sunday too. But also be on the lookout. I'm going to be giving away a signed autograph copy of Swerve Strickland this week to those who support us this week. So be on the lookout for that. But we'll be back on Tuesday after NXT.
Awesome. All right. We will check you guys out again Tuesday, Thursday. And again, we'll be back on Sunday with a recorded episode airing live, or I should say airing. So take care, wrestling fans. We'll catch you later this week.